Hello my friends, welcome to a video where I am going to be talking about some of my favorite books of the year. I obviously am excited about this video because I want to talk about books that I love. This is kind of like the second quarter favorites, but it's like partially second quarter and third quarter. I did a video after the first quarter sharing my favorite books of the first quarter, and for some reason I can't do these videos quarterly. I try and it doesn't work. So I only have 3 physical books here. I own one more of them physically and I can't find it. I just read it less than a month ago. I don't know where I put it. But a lot of them I read either from ebooks or from the library, and they're on my want to purchase list. So we're gonna start with the ones that I read the longest ago and go from there. I am not counting any rereads because I have 12 books I want to reread this year and they're all favorites, hence why I want to reread them. So, and as I've read them, they're still favorites. So I'm not going to talk about those, and I'm not including any nonfiction. At the end of the year / beginning of 2026, I'll share my favorite nonfiction of the year, but we're just sticking with fiction through a variety of genres. What we all got here, we've got mystery, classics, fantasy, suspense, contemporary, and science fiction. We've got a little bit of many genres. The first favorite here is Facing the Dawn. This one I was so surprised about. I did try a chapter, I think it was for Patreon or something, and I enjoyed the first chapter, but I honestly didn't expect to enjoy the book, and I did. A lot of stuff happens, so it's a very heavy, kind of hard-hitting kind of book. We follow this woman named Mara. Her husband has been digging wells in Africa, I think for the last 3 or 4 years. So he's in Africa and she's kind of single parenting back at home. And her oldest 2 are graduated, I think, and then she's got a 13-ish year old. The older ones, not doing so well. They're definitely feeling the lack of fatherly presence and getting into all sorts of trouble. So they are stressors. And the younger one is kind of like her pride and joy. It hasn't got too moody yet. And right at the beginning of the book, Mara is definitely, I would say resentful of her husband, who's doing great work in Africa, digging wells for people that need water, but neglecting his family at home. And she's feeling that way, and right at the beginning of the book, they get notified that he's dead. And that just starts all sorts of things, you guys. There is so much in this book, but I think it's really well done. There are some struggles with faith, but I think they are resolved, I think accurately and in a good way. I didn't feel like everything was oh, and they all lived as one big happy family at the end. It's not like a happily ever after story, but it is a positive ending at the same time. Definitely recommend Facing the Dawn. So surprised by that. I think I got this from, I got it from Book Outlet just on a whim years ago. Okay, the next one is kind of a spin on a classic. It's Unequal Affections. And to my knowledge, this book is no longer in print. You can get the ebook, and some libraries still have copies. But when I've looked for a physical copy, they're all $75. So that's unfortunate because I would really like to buy a physical copy of this. It is kind of a reimagining of Pride and Prejudice. So we pick up from where Mr. Darcy proposes to Elizabeth. And Unequal Affections takes the idea that she says yes to his proposal instead of refusing him, and then we get the story from there. So we still have many of the same scenarios and scenes from the original Pride and Prejudice, but we are with Elizabeth Bennet while she admits to Mr. Darcy that she does not love him, but she is kind of marrying him for his money, honestly, but she's willing to try to love him, to try to see the good in him. And I just thought it was an interesting take, and in some ways it doesn't change too much of the book because, I guess it's a spoiler, but she does end up marrying him. So it results in the same ending as Pride and Prejudice, but things are different as a result. and it's interesting to see. It's kind of like your life choices and how a different choice at one spot doesn't necessarily change where you end up, but it can change your journey to get there. Yeah, I just think it was fascinating, and I would love to read more books like this. I don't think this author has done anything else, but I hope she does at some point. It was very interesting. In a very different vein, my next one is Calculated. This is a little bit science fiction-y because our main character is a girl named Josephine. She is a prodigy. She's like really smart and with math, to the point where it's like, okay, that's a little above like what humans can actually do, but the rest of it's not science fiction. I have not continued this series yet, despite wanting to. So like it's science fiction light. It's more mystery thrillery, but like light as well. It's light on a bunch of different things. So she gets abducted at the beginning of the book to work for someone. It's kind of the way the story's told. We are getting bits of her story from pre-abduction, the different places that she's been and like where she's at now. And so she's been abducted for people to use her brain, really, to help them make money. I don't know, I was just in for the ride. I had no idea what I was getting into, but it was exciting, and I have not continued the series, which is a problem with me, a continual problem, but one I hope to remedy. I would like to continue that series for sure. And then we've got another contemporary, The Way It Should Be. This one, Christina Suzanne Nelson always just knocks it out of the park. We follow three main characters. So two of them are twins. They went very different lives. One is very prim and proper. One is an unwed mother that's addicted to drugs. And then we follow an older-ish lady who has had a daughter about the girl's ages, which I think is like early 20s, who died after getting addicted to drugs. So she is helping people on the street now because her philosophy is, I hope somebody helped my daughter in her days on the street and in her final moments and stuff like that. And so at the beginning of the book, our like prim and proper type A twin gets a call that her sister's kids have ended up in foster care, and she ends up taking them in. She had no idea that she even had a niece and nephew, and she's quite newly married and has a lot of things going on herself with a business and stuff, but they take in these kids. And I said after, when I was reading it and stuff, like, it gave me PTSD of foster care. Those first nice nights with foster kids, and those first days, everything is a little bit chaotic, and you don't know the kids. You've got these kids in your home, and you don't know them. You don't know how they're going to act in certain circumstances. You don't know what the night's going to be like. Are they going to cry all night? Are they going to, yeah. So very, very well written. I don't think I can't remember if I've read 2 or 3 books by Christina Suzanne Nelson, and they've been great reads. So I haven't been disappointed by her yet. But like that one gave me so much PTSD. I was like, okay, I'm a little worried to pick up another one of hers too soon after. Like I need some recovery time, which is just the sign of a great writer. Okay, I do actually own the next one physically. This is Unsinkable by Jenny Walsh. So this is dual timeline where we follow 2 different characters. Our main character is Violet Jessup. So she was a real person. She was on the Titanic. If you know more of her storyline, you know more of where her story goes. If you do not know her story, I do not want to tell it to you because I didn't know it going in, and the only thing to know is like her story is very much based off of her own journals and stuff, so it's decently accurate. Obviously some liberties are taken and like spots are filled in to make a story, but the main points are true. And when I was reading it, I was like, this is a little extreme. This is a little far-fetched. Nope, those things were true. So we follow her starting on the Titanic, and then we follow a woman named Daphne in World War II. Daphne ends up becoming part of the Special Operations Executives. They invite her to be an agent in France. And yeah, so much of this book to me came together at the end and in the author's notes, like learning more about Violet Jessup's life. This was a really good historical fiction. I'll be honest though, when I was reading it, especially because I didn't know that this was kind of based on a true story, there were a few times where I'm like, okay, it's getting a little dry. I just kind of wanted to, I was like enjoying it, but kind of didn't want to pick it up. But I felt like the ending made it all worth it. Next is Girl Lost. This one is a new to me author. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if this is a debut book for her, or at least a fiction book. It might be. And this is going to be a part of a series. It had some major O'Malley vibes from like Dee Henderson's O'Malley series vibes. We are following a main character who at one point was like a juvenile delinquent, and she got connected with this group, I think they were called the Warriors, where this man trained these delinquents alongside law enforcement. And so she, as a teenager, was in that program. She ended up getting pregnant, giving her daughter up for private adoption. And at the beginning of the book, she's coming back to her hometown because the man that led the Warriors program is the guy that did the private adoption. She doesn't know where her daughter is, and she would like to find her daughter. So she goes back to her hometown. She's in the diner waiting for this man to arrive, and she sees him pull up. As he arrives, he gets abducted. And so now she's on the search for him. She's on the search for her daughter. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There were some things where I was like, okay, maybe this. And then I was proven wrong. And oh, maybe this, and I was proven wrong. And I liked it. It kept me guessing. It kept me turning the pages. Well, figuratively, because I was reading the ebook. But thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to more from the series. I'm guessing that we're going to be following other people from the Warriors program, because there was like a group of 6 of them, I think, that were close, that were in the program at the same time, that we get introduced to throughout the book, because they all kind of went into some kind of law enforcement-ish careers, and they're helping try to find the guy. So definitely recommend that one. Then we've got a little bit of a fantasy kick. This is the part where I was like, oh man, I am in the mood for fantasy. The first one I read was Powerless. I devoured this book. So this is the first book in the trilogy. I still haven't read any more. I hear it kind of goes downhill, but we start out at the beginning of the book. We have a main character who is an ordinary in a world where people have a lot of powers. And this is like, it's kind of a thing that's done quite often, but yet I felt like this was done in a very unique way. It has some Hunger Games vibes. At the beginning of the book, she steals money from a guy, and then a minute later, he's getting beat up by a bunch of thugs, and she goes and helps him. Well, she realizes that he is the second prince, and the second prince has like this special power where he can use other people's powers, and he realizes quickly that she doesn't have a power, and normally people that don't are murdered or exiled or generally not treated very well. But she pretends she has the ability to be a psychic, and it's a very small power, that's why he can't sense it. And she helps him by getting rid of these thugs, because she's actually good at fighting because she's been living on the streets, and she becomes kind of well known. And then there are these trials, kind of like these games that are coming up. And I don't remember, like, I don't know who, I'm sure the book said, who gets picked for these trials, like certain people from certain areas. I don't know like the specifics, but our main character ends up getting picked, and the second prince always knew that he was going to be in the trials because he's also the king's enforcer. He's the guy that does the killing for the king. And so now she's going to be in forced proximity with him and a bunch of other people. So she wants to try to hide her gift, but also has to stay alive because it does have those Hunger Games elements. Really enjoyed book 1. Read book 2 last month. No, I read book 1.5 kind of could have skipped that one. But I'm optimistic for book 2, and then we'll see what book 3 brings. Then I kept going with my fantasy and I read Half a Soul. To me, this was like the coziest of fantasy that I have read in a long time. Not that it was like super light. Like when I'm saying cozy, there were certain Victorian England, like poorhouse vibes. Like it wasn't like, oh, and everyone's so happy. There was some like hard stuff, but the rest of it was just perfect. So our main character at the age of 10, a fae came to get her because her mother said he could have her at a certain age or something. She pretty much sold her child for gold. So he comes to get her at the age of 10, and he's trying to remove her to the land of the fae by removing her soul. But her cousin uses scissors and cuts him, and he leaves. So this girl has only half of her soul. So she feels things less. She's not as affected emotionally because she only has like half of her emotions. So for a lot of her, like for the last 10 years, because then we jump into her being 20, she spends a lot of time like looking around socially and being like, okay, this is how I should be acting and reacting, because she knows she's an anomaly for the way she is. She doesn't want to stick out. And right at the beginning of the story, yeah, so she's 20, and her cousin who helped her back when she was 10 is like a sister to her. She's going to London for the season because the aunt wants to get the cousin married off. And the cousin has this secret that reason for wanting to go. She wants to go to London because I forget what his name is, like the Lord Sorcerer maybe, is going to be in London or is in London. And she thinks that maybe he can help her get her soul back. And yeah, I don't know. It was just so cozy and perfect. Similar things with Powerless. I hear book 2 is pretty good. Some people like it more. And then I think I will not read book 3 based on what I've heard about that one, which is unfortunate, but Half a Soul was like perfection. And then the next fantasy one was Quarter Labyrinth. I went and purchased this one because I had just a good feeling that I was going to love this one. So our main character, her name is Ren, Serenity. She is on the eve of her 16th birthday as we open. Her father left her and her mother on this island when she was a young child or a baby, and said he would come back on the eve of her 16th birthday to tell the world that she was going to inherit his ships. And she's sitting there and waiting, and at midnight that night, the Quarter Labyrinth is announced. So I think every 4 years there is a labyrinth on an island and there is some kind of prize. Well, her father doesn't show up, and it turns out that the prize is his fleet of ships. He has gone missing years before, but she didn't know because she was on some island being hidden. And so Ren wants to go to the labyrinth to win like her birthright. And her friend, what's his name? Well, her friend, I think his name's Clark. Yeah, he comes along with her, and throughout the labyrinth they meet these stone gods. These are people that were in the labyrinth at some other time, and for some reason they are now stuck in the labyrinth. Usually like it's a choice, they chose to stay there. And each god has something they can offer the people doing the labyrinth, but also some kind of requirement. And then throughout the book, when it's their picture, that's also their story of how they came to be in the labyrinth. I really love that. Adds something extra to the story. And so, yeah, Ren and Clark are trying to do the labyrinth. You have to, I don't know the exact amount of time. It's a race. And there's like a certain amount of time that the labyrinth is open, and throughout the time all 4 seasons occur. So it starts in spring and ends in winter, and it also has those Hunger Game vibes because it's very high stakes. And I really liked how book 1 went, and it's a duology, so I'm planning on buying book 2 really soon. I was hoping it was going to go on sale a little bit, but I'm probably just gonna have to pay full price for it. This one does have another cover option. She did 2 different covers. Hardcover has a different look than the paperback. And I don't know, I don't think I normally gravitate to ones with people on the cover, but I really loved this cover, so I went with the paperback. Plus it's cheaper, so that's always a bonus. Okay, 2 more. The next one I do own, and this is the book that I don't know where I put it. In theory, it could be on my red shelf downstairs, or it could be somewhere up here because it has more stories in it that I could read. And it's kind of bothering me, but I don't know where I put it. It's The Importance of Being Earnest. So it's a play. In my book, it's 77 pages, and it is pure nonsense and terrible advice. We follow 2 young gentlemen who both have these made up, either a relative or a sibling that lives in the country or the city and gives them an excuse to leave places whenever they need, because their cousin or their brother is, you know, just so down on his luck and needs me, or whatever it may be. And yeah, I mean, 77 pages, there's not, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give spoilers. I went into it completely blind, underlined so many things, and all the things I underlined, it's like, okay, do exactly the opposite of what this says. It reminded me a lot of Jane Austen's Lady Susan. Just a good time kind of hating on some characters, wanting to do the opposite of what they do. Yeah, but it's a quick read and it made me laugh out loud, so that's worth it. And the last one is You Are Fatally Invited. Okay, this one is so fun. This is a locked room mystery story with a clue map in it. I just read this in September, loved it. So we've got a number of people, they're all horror writers, coming to an island because this other horror writer is hosting this writing retreat. Well, it doesn't take long before they're getting picked off one by one. We get the perspective of a few different people throughout the book, but our main character is the assistant to the horror writer that's putting this on. She's kind of the event planner. She's got the details of the time there. She also has it out for someone that is on the island. And yeah, people get picked off. If you like mystery, you like locked room, this is perfect. Very clean. I mean, there are some murder scenes throughout the book, but yeah, I don't remember there being any swearing. When I filmed my September wrap-up and people asked, I'm like, I don't even remember. So that's a good sign. It means there probably wasn't. And in the comments, people said the phrases were like, they cussed, but not like the actual swear word, which makes sense because I don't remember there being any. Yeah, and no other content that I didn't care to read. If you like And Then There Were None, I think you'll enjoy this book. So there you have it. Those are my favorites from the last few months. I will do another one of these. Well, my video at the beginning of 2026 is gonna be my absolute favorites of the year. I always kind of feel bad because the books at the end of the year don't get quite as much attention. Maybe I will do another like quarterly favorites at the end of the year, but I would love to hear what were some of your favorites from the last few months, like 4, 5-ish months. Any like standout books that I should pick up soon? Let me know. And thanks for hanging out with me for another video.